Joseph's escape to Egypt. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where life pushes you down a path you never expected? Where the plans you made are completely shattered, and you're left facing an uncertain future, not knowing what to do next? I'm sure that at some point, we've all been there. And it's in these moments that our faith is truly tested. Today, I want to share the story of a man who lived this in an intense way. He received a mission from God at a moment when there was no time to think, plan, or even understand what was happening. He had to act without knowing the next steps, but he completely trusted in God. That man was Joseph, the husband of Mary, and the adoptive father of Jesus. The story I'm going to tell today is when he fled to Egypt, an escape that no one saw coming, but which was part of the divine plan. Now, imagine this: you're at home, with your family, and suddenly you receive the news that something terrible is about to happen, something that will put your life and your loved ones at risk. What would you do? Joseph didn't have time to prepare, and his story teaches us a lot about how to react when we're caught by surprise and forced to trust God when we don't understand what's happening. The story begins right after the birth of Jesus. A moment of joy and celebration, not only for Joseph and Mary but for the whole world. The Savior had arrived, and the future seemed promising. However, that future was soon threatened by Herod, the cruel king of Judea, who feared losing his throne to the King of the Jews, as the baby Jesus was called. This is where Joseph's story begins to teach us about trust in God. In a dream, Joseph is warned by an angel, "Get up, take the child and his mother, and flee to Egypt, and stay there until I tell you." Imagine the impact of that message. Joseph had no idea what was coming. He didn't know how long they would need to stay in Egypt, or how they would survive in a foreign country. All he knew was that he had to act fast. Joseph was in Bethlehem, with the newborn Jesus and Mary, and their future was suddenly in danger because of a king who wanted to kill the child. But Joseph didn't hesitate. He obeyed without questioning. He immediately got up, took Mary and Jesus, and fled to Egypt. There were no plans, no security, no guarantees that the journey would be successful. There was only one thing: trust in God. Joseph took the unknown path, not knowing what the future held, but with the assurance that he was fulfilling God's will. Now, think with me, how many of us have faced situations like this? Situations where we were forced to walk an unknown path, to make difficult choices without having all the answers? Maybe you've lost a job suddenly, or faced an unexpected health crisis. Or perhaps you found yourself in a life change you hadn't planned. I know how it feels to be lost and unsure of where to go. But, just like Joseph, we can choose to trust. Even when we don't understand everything, we can trust that God has a plan. Joseph had no idea what would happen in Egypt. He didn't know if they would be safe there, or how long they would need to stay. What he did know, and what we need to learn, is that even in the unknown, God has a purpose. Joseph made the right choice, he obeyed. He didn't question the plan, didn't try to understand everything at that moment. He simply trusted that God was in control. And the great lesson we can learn from this is that when God leads us, even when we don't understand what's happening, we need to trust that He's taking us to where we need to be. Have you ever stopped to think about the times life has led you to unexpected places? When you looked back and realized that that moment of uncertainty, that step of faith, was exactly what you needed to grow, mature, or achieve something you never imagined? It can be hard, it can be scary, but it's in those moments that God teaches us the most about trust, obedience, and His faithfulness. If you're in a phase of life where everything seems uncertain, where you don't know what the future holds, maybe it's time to stop and reflect. Joseph's story shows us that even when we don't know where we're going, God might be leading us exactly where He wants us to be. Sometimes, the hardest part isn't the journey, it's trusting the process. If you're walking a journey like this, don't be afraid to keep moving forward. God is already ahead of you, preparing the way. If you're feeling lost or uncertain, share this video with someone who needs a word of encouragement. We are not alone on this journey. And remember, even when the paths seem difficult, God might be leading us to something incredible. Leave a comment below telling us how you've been facing your own challenges and how faith has guided your steps. Let's support each other and grow together. Joseph didn't know what the future held. He simply followed God's guidance, trusted, and obeyed. This act of faith and trust not only kept them safe but also fulfilled God's divine plan to protect Jesus. And this is something we can all learn from. When we don't know what the future holds, we can trust that God is always working on our behalf. We learn that, even when life leads us down unexpected paths, trusting God guarantees that we are exactly where He wants us to be. It may be hard to understand now, but in time, we will see that He's leading, protecting, and preparing us for a future we might never have imagined. The lesson here is, don't be afraid to follow the unknown path, because God is with you, and He never fails. Trust, obey, and know that He has a greater purpose for you. So, the next time you feel lost, or when the paths seem uncertain, remember Joseph. He didn't know what was ahead, but he trusted. And in the end, God fulfilled his promise. Maybe now is the time to trust as well. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next video.